Today on Geek.Nerd.Tech on Black Hollywood Live, we talk about Obama's other historic appointment. Batman vs. Superman gets an R rating, maybe, and the Oscars are this Sunday. Let's go.
You are tuned in to Black Hollywood Live's Geek.Nerd.Tech.
So here I go, kicking science 95, I'll be illin'.
Welcome to Geek.Nerd.Tech, the show we break down nerd culture and tech news from a black and brown geek perspective. KRS-One, the teacher, Black History Month. I'm Joe Braswell. I'm joined as always by my man Achilles Shine. How you doing?
Man, I'm well, bro. Well and blessed, man. It's KRS-One, man, taking us back, bro.
The teacher.
The teacher, man.
Yes.
Bronx.
Yes, the Boogie Down.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. KRS is my dude since 1986.
Man.
I'm not mad at him at all. Except, where's he been, though?
Man,
last time I saw him, it was
in the cut, man.
It was in a parking lot in Sherman Oaks at Kinko's.
Oh, you mean like you literally seen him?
Yeah.
Word.
Giant hands.
Oh, man. KRS is a big dude.
I'm all Christmas. Hey! Anyway, I digress. Welcome to Geek.Nerd.Tech. Let's talk about lots of tech news. We have some Obama stuff. We finally, as promised, going to get into this Oscar conversation a little bit later. Still more on the Apple controversy of what they're going to do about these cell phones. Bill Gates has weighed in. Of course he has. But let's get into it. President Obama, as we talked about, as I mentioned in the open, President Obama has people have been talking about the Scalia's death and the Supreme Court appointment, which he should make because it's his constitutional right and he's the president, but I digress. But he has another appointment, which is pretty historic as well. He's about to make an appointment to the Library of Congress, head Library of Congress, number one. But what's historic about it is it'll be the first African American and the first woman to hold that job.
That's correct.
And while we're covering that here, aside from the fact that it's the first African American and the first woman to hold that job, is the Library of Congress nowadays, in this day and age, in this new millennium, has a huge amount of tech law significance. They help set the policy on how tech is used in the general public and to consumers. Things from like whether or not you can unlock your phone for your cell phone carrier, or what tech companies are allowed to do, and other things like that. And the FCC has a lot of that, but Library of Congress holds these too, and it could have huge implications as we get into this digital millennial age, and things like we have like. We talk about the Internet of Things, when your refrigerator has the internet and everything in your house has the internet. These laws are going to really affect everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that Obama is focused on diversifying some of these positions, especially a position that's never, like you said, never had a woman be in the seat, and never had a person of color be in the seat. So I think that's awesome off top, and I think we need more promotion of that. But yeah, in terms of the landscape, Internet of Things, we're all connected to our devices. These devices are collecting information and data, and like how you want to adapt them or evolve them. If you want to switch them up, how you want to use that information for yourself, all those type of things, she will be deciding. And I think that's pretty cool that a black woman is tech savvy and will be making a lot of the leadway in terms of how we manage these things as technology evolves even further. So
yes, it's historic in a lot of different ways. Her name is Dr. Carla Hayden, I should say. Dr. Carla Hayden. She's why she's probably the right woman for the job is she was instrumental in bringing the Library Association, like in general, bringing them into the digital age. So bringing all these files and books into the digital age. So she's just the right one for the job. So I'm very excited about this, and now if we can just get a Supreme Court justice appointed, we're in business.
We need more people of color in high public offices, and so I think this is great. This is a great move, and we talk about all the time diversifying Silicon Valley, and even just on a governmental level, like this is a good step in the right direction.
I agree. Could not agree more. Next, Volvo. We never talk about Volvo. We're always talking about.
Why would we?
I know. We're always talking about Tesla and
are you going whip a Volvo?
Yeah, this Volvo was kind of fresh though.
Okay.
This new Volvo is kind of hot.
You're not pulling up in the Volvo. Stop it right now.
The Volvo, who's known for their safety and not known necessarily for their innovation, but they are trying to do something different. There, all new cars now have keyless entry. Most cars have this. Have the keyless.
Like, we have an argument.
Has the keyless fob, the entry. They want to take it one step further. They want to do the keyless app to your phone. So basically, use Bluetooth technology to be able, when you walk up, have your phone unlock, have your car unlock when you're nearing your phone. I like the sound of that. I mean, I guess we're talking about an age where you are digitally your thumbprints on your phone, so your codes on your phone. It's supposed to make things work. It seems inherently problematic to me. If someone borrowed my phone, could they steal my whip? How does that work? Do I gotta to unlock my card? I gotta slide up my thing, enter my code, open the app, press the button. It seems like a lot of steps.
I mean, I think it speaks to our app dependency. I don't see how this can make it faster or easier. Unless it's literally your fingerprint and the car turns on or the car unlocks. If you have to put in a code, to me that's just as fast as clicking the button.
Yeah.
But in a way, you're clicking a button regardless. So why is this better? Oh, frees up space in your pocket, in your purse. Okay, ooh, big save.
But most cars have the radio technology, like in the Audis for sure. The key never has to leave your pocket or your purse. You walk up and you put your hand in the door and it unlocks.
Exactly. I think what this one does, in addition to that, is that you could allow a friend or a family member access to your vehicle. But if they have the app, you give them the code or you give them permission, and they're able to have access to the car. And you could do it anywhere in the world. So if I'm in Italy and my car's parked in somewhere in California, I could just boom boom, give you access and it can be moved. I think that's kind of cool.
Right. I agree. I don't know, man. It feels like it's just sort of a PR announcement. I don't know that it's anything revolutionary.
Definitely not.
I don't know that they're going to lead the way in the way we get our cars. Everyone's going to have an app. Obviously the obvious thing is, and they even said this in the article, make sure your phone's charged. Your phone dies, you can't get in your car. It's an emergency.
Yeah.
My charger's in the car.
Yeah.
I can't get in. I'm stuck and I'm camping. So I don't know. They hope they think that one through.
Volvo.
Next, Instagram. We talked a while about this. Instagram dropped this thing where they have a new sort of advertiser visual social platform. And in 5 months, they've got over 200,000 advertisers. So it's hugely successful.
Yeah.
And again, what I guess I'm assuming what this is how does this work? So it's a thing where is it learn more and shop now buttons? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, learn more, shop now buttons, and just add vendor partnerships where a company can roll ads on Instagram, and so obviously it's in the photo or video form, and so in the video form it can be longer than 15 seconds. In the photo form, you have the option to, like you said, the shop. Blah 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 blah. You have the options to do something with that photo if it's a product, and so they've opened it up in over 100 markets throughout the world. Most of it has been overseas in terms of the brands that are using it. But the point is that for Facebook, this is going to be a huge money revenue generating tool. Right. And so they're saying that for Facebook, in terms of the landscape of Facebook and how much ad revenue that they'll bring in, Instagram is going to bring in next year 15% of the ad revenue because of this new technology. So it's good. I actually like the ads that I see on Instagram. I think it's cool the way it's presented, high quality photos. So a lot of the stuff I actually like. I hit the button and want to explore the brand further. So I think the way the ads work on Instagram versus another platform, I think is way better.
Right. I agree. And I have nothing wrong with this. This is the future. This is the way things are going, especially in the video space and the mobile space. Which reminds me of this next story. BuzzFeed announced that they're really going all in the mobile space, and they have their first video only app that they're debuting. And this is kind of the future. BuzzFeed is not exactly the wordiest site in the world. They don't have any. BuzzFeed is not known for its in-depth articles. It's not a Vulture or Salon or Vanity Fair or anything like that in terms of word count and what you're going to be reading. However, they do have a lot of click-worthy stuff, and so the next going from those captions and pictures, which is what a BuzzFeed article amounts to. Let's just go straight to video.
Yeah,
these 4G things grow and everything, video is a way to consume content mobily, and it's a lot easier to have a video stream and people consume it that way than to read an article or scroll through some pictures. And BuzzFeed's on top of that.
They're super on top of it. I mean, you got to think 5 years ago, like a lot of people were still getting a lot of their information on their desktop.
Right.
I mean, there's been a huge transition into the mobile game. That's why all these major platforms are developing their platform for mobile, because that's where the ears and eyeballs are at.
Yep.
In fact, there was a statistic that they gave, like in 2012, they had 100 million views of their video content. In 2016, it's like 2 billion, almost 2 billion. That's like retarded.
Yeah.
So
the exponential growth in BuzzFeed. It's I mean, there's something to be said about what and how we're consuming. I mean, our culture is a soundbite culture. We're a BuzzFeed culture, and now we're like a BuzzFeed clip culture. Hopefully, people take some time to read an article. Sometimes you want the 5,000 word article in Vanity Fair or the 5,000 word article in
sometimes you want
else.
the compressed version. You want just the quick hits.
So I hope that there's room for both, and everything just doesn't become a soundbite on BuzzFeed or Instagram,
right?
But or Snapchat for that matter. But it's interesting where this is going and how this is going to be utilized. I mean, look, like you said, but BuzzFeed's audience grew from 100 million monthly to 6 billion. And we're talking about in 4 years. That's exponential growth that I can't wrap my head around.
That's retarded.
It's something.
Yeah.
Speaking of these apps as well and ads, Foursquare also has something to help measure foot traffic, which is like, I don't know. This isn't really like. This is just, again, adds to the idea of how these ads want to quantify what their penetration is to be able to get these ads to other people.
It's this thing called attribution powered, where if a consumer leaves their Foursquare app on or off, as long as it gives access, it's collecting information. So whenever you go to a store, it's collecting that information, and then it's sending that information to a potential advertiser. They're like, okay, well now we can target you because we know that you're in the age group of 18 to 23, and you've been going to these type of stores around this time. So we're going to target these type of ads towards you, and then we're gonna use you as a case study and someone from the same demographic. We're not going to target the ad and see like what the variation is, like who's spending more time where, and so to prove to other ads like, hey, these do work. And so that's kind of what the concept of the attribution powered thing is supposed to be. And
what do you think? Do you think this is smart? Do you think it'll work?
I think Foursquare, when you juxtapose them to the other digital media properties, I think they have to still be in the conversation, so they have to adapt and innovate. And I think in terms of a GPS location app where it's able to acquire that type of information, I think they do need to innovate in that space. And I think it does provide information for a potential brand to target their audience better. So I think it is kind of smart.
Okay, we'll see.
I don't use Foursquare though. I don't know about you.
I don't use it at all. I don't use it at all, but I know a lot of people who do. It's just not. I don't use it at all.
Yeah, I haven't really been a Foursquare guy at all since the beginning.
Yeah, and I just the whole idea of letting, I never had the desire to let people know,
hey, I'm over here.
Yeah. I mean that's also for densely populated urban areas like San Francisco or New York, where it's like I'm 2 blocks away, or I'm right around the corner, or like that's different. When you're in LA, it's so spread out. Like I'm in Culver City, like so. It's like I don't. So anyway, I don't know. But it seems to be working. I mean, some places. So Google, Alphabet. We talked about Alphabet and Google sort of taking over, and it looks like they have a new letter in Alphabet, the 24th letter, S for Spotify. I think it's 24th letter. I don't know. But anyway, Spotify is moving itself onto Google's cloud. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that Google is buying Spotify.
Definitely not.
No, but which is kind of what it feels like. But it's still a move for Spotify to live in Google's cloud ecosystem, which allows, because you're talking about 20 million songs and millions of users. So Google's ecosystem, the Google Net, is the place to live for that. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about this, I want to hear your thoughts on it, but it just speaks to, again, the proliferation of Google is not Google's doing some smart things by not only being in the, obviously they're in the information, the search, they've owned the search space, so they own the information space, and now they're trying to own the bandwidth space. Not only are they doing the hard labor, laying the Google fiber, I won't say laying the pipe, but laying the Google fiber everywhere, but they're also building this Google Net, the cloud. So they're owning not only the information, how you search for information, but how you receive that information and how you store the information.
Absolutely.
That's smart.
It's about speed and efficiency for all these companies, especially since a lot of our business, a lot of our communication, a lot of our interaction is based in the cloud. And so they call it cloud computing. And for a company to be able to develop that for themselves is very pricey. It takes a lot of infrastructure to build that. Like, and you have to have like a facility to store all your stuff. So why not use a titan like Google or Amazon that already has this infrastructure and that can give you a lower price point, and you're able to run your software through their cloud computing, and all your stuff is stored, centralized in one centralized place, and you don't have to worry about building all that infrastructure as you grow and grow and grow, because Google's so big and they're giving it to you at a low rate. So that's kind of the thing. And I think the Spotify Google collaboration is dope because it's a way for Google to promote that to other brands. Like, look, we got Spotify. Spotify has over 100 million users. Like, and we have a brand. We have a platform that's that large.
They can handle that.
Exactly.
So of course we can handle you.
Exactly.
X, whoever that you are. I agree. I mean, I'm really interested to see where Alphabet is in the next 3 years in terms of, these companies that own. What this means for them in the storage space, in the fiber space. I just wonder what that's going to mean for Google as a company, because they're, like I said, it's just, again, it's just unprecedented. Someone to own the way we get information, and the way we receive information, and own the way we store information. So top that, Bill Gates. I don't know. That's a lot.
Bezos is right there too. Amazon is playing.
Yeah,
they're players.
Yeah, I mean, so they own. They're the ways they own. They're good. Again, we talked about it a couple years ago, but Bezos is controlling the way shipping is done. Like he buying the post office, the United States Post Office. So I mean, like he's more efficient. He may put FedEx and UPS out of business. So that's a lot.
And another thing that's interesting about this topic is that they're forecasting that this cloud computing is going to be the biggest profit aspect of Google, even beyond their search. Like that's kind of crazy, because right now I think it's like almost $150 billion business. In like 4 years, it's going to be over $200 billion business. And so they're trying to ramp up because everyone wants to have their stuff stored somewhere.
Storage is king.
Exactly.
I mean, ask Larry Ellison. Ask Oracle.
Man,
it's just an empire of of storage and servers and information. Like Oracle. I mean, they're a weird company who, if you're not from Silicon Valley, you have no idea what they do or why they do it, but they are like dominant.
Domination.
So they're definitely in the right space.
Hey man,
that's
I just want one B. I just want one B.
I'll take a half a B. I'll take a quarter of a B. Anyway, I'll take a B. So speaking of which, speaking of B's and Gates, Microsoft is buying. I don't know how you pronounce this, Xamarin, and which is a sort of it's a place where you can develop. You can program apps to run on not just Windows, but all these platforms. And Microsoft, I mean, it used to be back in the day that, it was very much Microsoft versus Apple, or these people versus each other. It was this platform or this platform. And now people are starting to see that it's not in your best interest to just, to fight it. You're going to want some of your stuff to run on Apple and iOS, and iOS is going to want some of the stuff to run on Windows. So what Microsoft is doing is they're getting a company that allows them to run their stuff universally on everything, which will only make them bigger, I imagine.
Well, that's the thing. Like in this new world that we are in, like a lot of the stuff is kind of converging. And so before, in the old world, like you were either a Windows guy, an Apple guy, a Linux guy, and so all those platforms require their own specific language, specific programming language. And so what this is doing is giving developers a tool to be able to use the Microsoft programming language, but still be able to develop software for other operating systems. And so I think that's pretty cool for a developer to have that tool in their toolbox to be able to do that. Instead of I can only develop stuff for Windows, now I have the ability to develop for everything, every operating system.
Right.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. We'll see how that goes. I want to move on. I want to talk about this Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush dropped out of the race last week. And I know you're very disappointed about that.
Man, I'm so disappointed.
We will not have another Bush in the White House anytime soon. But aside from the fact that, and Jeb seems like Jeb seems like a nice enough individual. I do not agree with any of his politics or any of his family's politics. But what's interesting about this story is it's about how to run a campaign and how to get this information out and what's working and what doesn't work, right? Yeah. And the ironic thing is you have a Barack Obama who in 2008, 8 years ago, utilized with about half the money that Jeb Bush has now, orchestrated a wonderful campaign using youth and tech,
revolutionizing
and word of mouth. Yeah. So here you are 8 years later with more tech, more information, and double the money. And he's still using the same old methods like hats and signs and TV ads ramping up and all that. It's a real disaster on the ads on the money spend. Yeah. And so I mean I'm not saying that Jeb Bush does his message is maybe people aren't responding to him or responding to his message, but man, talk about a misallocation of funds. The article I'm referencing talks about how basically political TV ads don't work. They spend a lot of money on these TV ads, but you can't. They're not nimble enough. By the time you produce a TV ad and get it up and by the ad time, get it up, it's old news. Yeah. And they're not pivoting fast enough.
And not just that, like in the 90s. I mean, before social media, right? Like pre-social media, like you got most of your information from three sources: the radio, newspaper, or television. Television was the biggest form in terms of your political news during the campaign.
Right.
So now, like you get it from all different places, and you get it rapid fire speed. Like you can research it yourself, and like if you see an ad, like most people don't even watch TV. Like most people have they're able to fast forward commercials. They're able to record whatever shows they want to watch and just skip it entirely. Like so, people aren't really entrenched in the old infrastructure of how they receive their information from television. So that's one thing. Like, so why would you invest most of your campaign money in that avenue?
Right.
That's not where the people are. That's not how the people consume information anymore. Like, and we're more savvy and smart and more sophisticated to be able to weed through all these bullcrap ads. You know what I'm saying? That are very salacious and very like just not necessarily accurate.
Yeah. It's interesting because it again what's amazing to me is, and this is more of like a huge metaphor for the Republican Party, is how out of step with the current times they are. It's just like, how do you, like, and again, 8 years ago, the Barack Obama campaign did a fantastic job of utilizing technology that was 8 years old to mobilize folks with half the money, and now the Bush campaign is using Bush 41 methods, like using stuff that Pop Bush did in 1992 in his campaign, so in 1988. So I don't know, man. It's really interesting to see. And this is got to get with the times.
Got to get with the times without question.
All that money, all the $1 billion he had, nope, gone. Man. So $1 billion, a B.
It's crazy.
He had to be. Anyway, moving on. I want to move past the Uber story because I want to get this pop culture stuff, but I do want to touch on this the debate over the FBI Apple debate, and it seems to be it's a debate because you have the Titans are all sort of weighing in on this. I mean, Bill Gates has weighed in, sort of saying that it's the duty of Apple to help, and this is a single case, and this isn't about everything. It's about this one particular instance, and you should be able to make an exception for this one instance, which I don't think it's highly credible because Bill Gates is obviously historically known for whatever. It's like Republican versus Democrat, right? Whatever Apple says, Bill Gates comes on the other side of it. If Apple said, they want to unlock the phones, Bill Gates probably would have said, keep it locked. So I don't know that Bill Gates is the most credible guy on this matter, but he seems to have, a philosophical point. Whereas other Titan, Mark Zuckerberg, came through who is knows a little thing or two about privacy and keeping people's information safe, allegedly. He came out and says he sympathizes with Apple. Like, it's hard. Like, encryption is key to what we all do, and if you don't keep those encryption methods state of the art and private, then it could be a disaster because of where we are. I don't know. Where have you? We had a week to think about this. Where do you come out?
I mean, my stance is the same as it was last week. I feel like, again, it's two sides of the coin: security and privacy. Security for the country, security for the public, but then privacy of the individual. And I lean more on the privacy of the individual because I feel there's no stoppage if you allow this. Like, if you allow it for one, who's to say it's not going to be? Who's to say I'm not going to be that one or the next one? Or So I feel like people should be able to express themselves and have their stuff protected and not have Big Brother, have the government, entrenched into their daily affairs, like, just because they suspect something. Like, I think they need to evolve and figure out a new way, a better way of honing in on a potential suspect, other than saying for everyone, like, even if you have a subpoena or you have a search warrant, but the potentiality for everyone to have their stuff looked at, I don't think that's fair. Right. I think we deserve to have our stuff protected.
We absolutely deserve to have our stuff protected. And again, in another philosophical debate, this is sort of really about letting the genie out of the bottle. This isn't, because when you do something, it's never a one-off, right?
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah,
never a one-off. Like, I use some of this where we are with mapping the genome and DNA stuff as an example. Once you clone that first human, or once you make that first thing,
stopping.
There is no like, we're
gonna stop it now.
I'm gonna clone this one dude to see what happens. I'm never gonna clone anybody else, or I'm gonna make this one. No, like, the genie's out of the bottle. People are gonna be, we will have a stormtrooper clone army in no time. So I don't know. You can't. Tech is no different. So it's really naive to say that, all we got is just for this one case.
And I think it's consequential because it allows highly sophisticated terrorist organizations or hackers or whoever that's technologically savvy to be able to have access to it too.
Right.
Like, it's not just saying, hey, the government, the FBI will have access to it. It raises the probability that someone else will have access to it. Yes. That's the concern.
That's and the probability is, the concern is valid when everyone in their who's in Silicon Valley and in tech knows and is very vocal about how behind Russia and China we are in our capabilities in terms of security and hacking. They've got people hacking 24 hours a day, young kids, everyone doing dirty tricks. China has 13 kids hacking. Everybody's hacking today, and we're not utilizing that. We don't have that. We're not doing that, and so it feels very much like a bureaucratic sort of like yelling and screaming without thinking about the consequence, without thinking about what it is. And so when you have guys like Donald Trump, and this is my opinion, so this is a perfect example of how our country works. The thing comes out, there's no real information, no real debate, no real conversation about what it is, no real thought about what this is but then you have guys like Donald Trump who hears about it, is like, boycott Apple, they should unlock the thing, like, they should help, they should do it because terrorists are bad. I'm Donald Trump, boycott Apple. And everybody's like, yeah, USA. It's like, no one's, this is what we're just in, Russia, China laughing at us. So I think we just need to give these things some more thought. I completely agree. So I think we're in agreement on this.
Yeah,
we side with Zuck and Apple, and I don't think it makes us anti-American.
Yeah,
that's our opinion. But I don't know what you guys think out there, but that's kind of what we think here. I'm gonna move on because I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about a little bit about Batman versus Superman. Then I want to talk a little bit about the Oscars on the way out. But so Batman versus Superman is still on the horizon. But in a seemingly desperate response to the success of Deadpool, now Warner Brothers has announced that they're going to have an R-rated version of Batman versus Superman. It'll be on the DVD, of course. Deadpool doing so well as an R-rated movie in February, doing the business that it did, put an extreme amount of pressure on Batman versus Superman to at least match that. The budget is 4 times as high as Deadpool's budget was, but Deadpool's $60 million. Batman vs Superman's upward $200 million, I think. The pressure on this movie, it's got to do like a half a B just to not be a failure.
Yeah,
like in anyone's eyes.
It's got to get the numbers high.
And so it's just really interesting. So what concerns me, aside from my already vocal points about Zack Snyder, what concerns me is because the stakes are so high, they're still tinkering, they're still messing with it, they're still tinkering with it. Like the movie's supposed to come out. First of all, the movie's been delayed, pushed back, moved, but like the movie's been finished for I don't know how long, allegedly, in a can for almost a year. Yet here we are, right before the release date, and they're like back in the edit bay, tinkering stuff because Deadpool came out. Like that, this is not good. I don't know. You're still a believer.
No. I feel you. Like that definitely raises a red flag. Like, I mean, and I think for the point that you brought up in terms of the expectation level because of Deadpool and its success, like I think this movie has to like really surpass that. And so I think that's where the whole shakeup is like, okay, well maybe we need to like infuse this with a little bit more of this, or scale back this, or incorporate this. I don't know, like, but it will be a major fail if they don't reach those numbers, like especially with the amount of budget that was allocated for this film. Like, right. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I feel, from the previews and from what I've read and just what I've seen, like, it looks good to me. Like, it looks like it's going to be a home run. But I mean, who knows? This isn't very. This movie has a lot of implications for the movie business in general. For the idea of the giant blockbuster tentpole superhero thing. Yeah. A studio like basically, I don't say it's whole. Warner Brothers has billions of dollars invested in this, not just in the movie itself, but because this is to launch their whole DC universe. Exactly. This is supposed to launch. According to them, right. 2 Justice League movies, 3 Batman movies, another Superman movie, 2 Wonder Woman movies, an Aquaman movie. Like this movie is launching like 10 movies that are supposed to do a B each. It's got to be right.
So I mean, there's billions of dollars at stake, and if this movie's a failure, can they still launch those movies?
Yeah, I think they can.
Can they still do that? And also, one thing that's interesting to me about this, the movie could be fantastic. Let's say the movie's great. The movie is a wonderful movie, and it still doesn't perform. For whatever reason, people don't get out to see it. People are tired. People don't want to see it. They wait. They want to wait till DVD. They want to watch it on their phone. They're pirating it. This is the climate we live in, which is really interesting to me.
I disagree. Right. I disagree. I think we're in the climate where you're going to have records being broken every summer. Okay. So I feel like if people don't come out, it's because the movie isn't good. Right. If the movie's good, people will come out. Right. Because you'll tell your friends, like it'll get good reviews. Like people will show up. Right. So.
Okay, well, in the last couple of minutes, I want to talk about the Oscars and talk about we didn't give our sort of Oscar so white take in general. I mean, I've seen most all these movies. I know you've seen a lot of the movies. Much has been made about the pretty much whitewashing of all the nominees on all fronts. All the movies that we that we've made and that we loved. I mean, I liked all the movies, but the black movies specifically, talking about Straight Outta Compton, Creed,
Beast of a Known Nation, and
Concussion, and then some of the other supporting roles like Sam Jackson in Hateful Eight, right. and some of the others. Not to mention, we had 2 wonderful young black directors out there doing a thing. Well, F. Gregory is not so young, but like young black directors doing a thing who completely were shut out. Yeah. Which I think both of those guys should have been nominated. Even in a tough category. I recognize it's a tough category, but I'm sorry, Adam McKay. Big Short was great, but I think Jeff Grade great, or Kugler should have got in, and then of course, and then also in the writing category, like Straight Outta Compton did get in, ironically written by white folks, but and I'm not sure that I will give the voters the benefit of the doubt, not knowing that. But the questions I have for you, aside from the obvious, I mean, it's bullshit, it sucks, and this is what it is. The question I have for you is this. Oscars has a black female president, who's president of the Academy. They are very in a PR move, and I think in a genuine move, trying to make some people talk about what the larger problem here about this is the voter base of the Oscar voter base are old and white men. They're like 70% over 60 and white, and they need to just sort of thin out that base a little bit. Now there's been pushback. Well, let me say this first. So what they decided to do was sort of say, if you haven't been active in 10 years, if you haven't done anything, you can't vote. They're trying to get more African Americans, more women in there, more young people in there. Those people are pushing back, being like, look, man, it's because I'm white. No, it doesn't mean I don't like black people. I marched for Martin Luther King. I'm a liberal. I'm in Hollywood. So it's an interesting fight there. The question I have, and I'm a long-winded question, but the question I have is, I believe this. This is not Oscar's problem to fix. This is Hollywood's problem to fix. I don't think this is. I mean, I appreciate them. Oscars doing this. Isn't Oscar's fault. This is Hollywood's fault. But go ahead. What do you?
I disagree. I think Oscar folk and Hollywood folk have responsibility. You got to think, man. And I was having this dialogue with some of my friends the other night, actually. And I mean, I have a number of takes. I know we're wrapping up the show, but number one, like the Oscars, the Grammys, they were never for us. They were never for us. They were to lionize and celebrate, white people's achievements, and we've always had to figure out a way to break in.
Best R&B single, best black single.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
And if you juxtapose the Grammys from the Oscars, how diversified now the Grammys are, is because we stopped going. Jay-Z said, "I'm not going to the Grammys," and he's the biggest artist of the time. And that I mean, and I know it's a little different in terms of Grammys. It's performance based, and they want viewership. Oscars is a little bit more insulated, and it's about the allure and the prestige of being a part of the Academy and being a part of this Hollywood culture. And they want to keep that white. You look at the statistics since the Oscars started. There's an infographic that's out on the internet that just shows like how every year the percentage is pretty much the same for people of color. Not just black folks, people of color, minorities, women. Like, I mean, people of color. I don't know what I'm saying, but with that. But anyway, I feel like there should be some type of diversity in terms of the voting base. I think that's where the problem is, and I think that is Oscar's responsibility. Like, break that up. Okay. Like, let's start from scratch, or let's like look at like the rules as to how they're evaluating, the movies, how they're nominating a movie
for life, but like be active. I mean, obviously, if in the '60s there weren't a lot of black members, in the '70s not a lot, '40s, '50s, '60s, '70s, '90s, '80s. So maybe you start getting some people start creeping in. Black folks start creeping in, maybe in the '80s and '90s, but that's only like what, one person every 5 years.
And my last point is I feel like a lot of these award shows, especially the Oscars, is not necessarily based on talent. Like if you look at Beast of a No Nation, I feel that little kid, and I forget his name, that little kid should have been nominated. That dude, that was the first time he ever acted in anything. He killed that role. No one's talking about him. Yeah. Like, I love Idris, but to me, he was the star of that movie. How come he's not nominated?
He's got some shine. And some of the others, the Guild Awards would recognize him. Hey, man, it's the guilds, the Screen Actors, producers, Independent Spirits, like, they're recognized. They're, both of them. But, the Oscar, I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're going to wrap up now, but I want to give my take. I agree with you wholeheartedly about the representation of what these two, Grammys and Oscars are. Like, the Grammys themselves aren't, just juxtaposing them really quickly. The Grammys themselves aren't about who's the best or whatever. The Grammys are about the music industry and appointing ambassadors to each thing, and they never really get it right. But they're not there to get it right. They're there to have a good show, a lot of performances, and they're there to appoint the ambassador to whatever this thing is. That's why Dave Grohl, he's the ambassador of rock and roll. He may not be the best rocker out there.
Kendrick is the ambassador of hip hop.
Well, now he is, because before Macklemore was the ambassador until they all got it wrong. It's like, oh, Kendrick. It's just like years ago when they made Jethro Tull the best rock album, and everyone freaked out, and then Metallica won for the next 5 years straight. Then they corrected it, and now Foo Fighters winning for the next 5 years straight.
I'm just saying, I think the Grammys have done a better job of diversifying.
They have,
right? So
Grammys have a much better job of diversifying, getting people in there, getting those categories right. Getting this as opposed and making all inclusive and ambassadors. Oscars are behind. Oscars, same thing. Oscars are about ambassadors. Oscars are about ambassadors to the movie industry. And the problem is the movie industry is based on what's going to sell tickets in their mind and what's going to play overseas in their mind, and that is white faces and white movies. So you're still, until they think that we want our ambassador of our industry to be African American, Latino, Asian, any other POCs, like whatever they are, then it's going to be the same.
And I agree with you when you say that it's Hollywood's responsibility, because I think it starts with the studios. I think it starts with who gets the access to make the movie, who gets the budgets, who gets the big budgets.
Because television's getting it right. Television is really getting it right. I mean, obviously, but movies are movies, man. They're still the people, the executives, like, oh, that will never play in overseas.
But that's the part. Movies. That's the part that is racialized. That's the part that's institutional white supremacy, because of this judgment, or this. It's like you're keeping us marginalized. So you think this story is not going to play overseas, so you don't want to give it pub. You don't want to give it access. You don't want to give people to experience it.
And
I think
who's
that's
making
wrong.
that decision?
Exactly.
Yeah, the Who's like, hey, you're good, Achille, but you're not going to play.
Yeah.
They're not going to like you over in Germany.
Yeah.
So just stay home.
Just go to the Image Awards.
Let me send someone else. Anyway, so we digress. Oscars Sunday. We'll be watching. We'll be still rooting for where we can root for. There's still some great performances.
So
great
you're not
movies.
gonna boycott the Oscars?
I'm not going to boycott the Oscars. I'm tuning in to see what Chris Rock's going to say. I think he's going to annihilate everyone.
I hope so.
I look for Chris Rock. I know we got to go. I look for Chris Rock to really challenge folks like he did on his SNL monologue, like Louis C.K. did on his SNL monologue. Those two guys are good friends. I think that he's going to come out and challenge people, not in a Ricky Gervais way, and we insult people. He's going to challenge folks and make people like, oh. But if you read the transcript, everything he's saying is going to be funny and crazy. Who knows how it's going to play in the room? Be smart, funny, and insightful. Who knows how to play in the room? So we'll see. I'm very interested to see how that works out.
And I'm very interested to see the dialogue that we have after it transpires.
We will be talking about that as well. We are 4 minutes past, so we're going to get out of here. But thank you so much for joining us on Geek.Nerd.Tech. Next week we'll talk about what happened at the Oscars, and we'll talk about the tech side of that, the streaming and the numbers and how people viewed it from a tech standpoint. But where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Achille Shine, AKILISHINE. And where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Joe K. Braswell, and also on our sister network at AfterBuzz, doing the Blacklist and soon to be Bates Motel. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners' opinions.